Hello, I'm Beryl Dakers. Welcome to Palmetto Scene. We're still adjusting to the new normal here in South Carolina as we continue to find ways to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. One group on the front lines of this fight is the South Carolina National Guard. It's their 350th anniversary, and they are long known for their service to our state in times of disasters and emergencies. That legacy of service continues as they join forces with other agencies, helping our communities during this crisis.
Well, I think like a lot of South Carolinians, we were watching what was taking place in other parts of the world, obviously in China, as we began to see that the virus was spreading there. The reality soon became that it was going to impact the continental U.S. And on or around March the 13th, we were mobilized under an order by Governor McMaster to bring soldiers and airmen on to help support the COVID-19 mission.
Since the time the TAG appointed me as a dual status commander, we've analyzed this mission just like we would any mission, whether we're overseas or here in the United States.
We helped distribute supplies from the Strategic National Stockpile. That was a partnership between the South Carolina National Guard, the Department of Health and Environmental Control here in South Carolina, and FEMA and Health and Human Services. Those supplies were delivered here in the state. They were broken out by county, by DHEC, and then our soldiers and airmen helped distribute those to the 46 counties here in the state.
We're excited to have the National Guard here at Oliver Gospel today because we've been experiencing a great uptick in our men, women, and children here on the corner of Taylor and Assembly. And that's a little bit challenging when we're trying to observe all of the rules and regulations and the desires of our leadership in our state, and to have proper social distancing. And I thought, we can utilize the great services of our National Guard to do this. So we were able to facilitate this happening. We will be able to have proper social distancing. This is all about keeping those that we love so much, and we want to keep them safe and to keep our homeless community as safe as possible.
And we're constantly training with the Department of Education on how to drive their school buses so we can distribute food and Wi-Fi capabilities to do tele-education. We're adapting our hospital staff to provide a joint hospital triage assessment team. We work with the South Carolina DHEC on what their tent packages look like and how we could assist in expanding that capability.
We've been very fortunate at this point that we have not had to actually implement that plan. We built that plan out again as a tailorable, scalable plan to meet those contingencies, but at this point we've been very fortunate in South Carolina not to have to implement that plan.
Very proud of what we did with our medical staff, and I'm also very proud of the soldiers that we have really that have been on duty now for over 45 days, that are willing to serve their country, risk their health if you really get down to it, and the way the organization has adapted.
But I'm very confident that the state of South Carolina, as far as its National Guard and its State Guard and all the other volunteers that help support us, are poised and ready to go forward to meet whatever the needs are of COVID-19 and potentially other mission sets. We are rapidly approaching hurricane season, so we're already looking at those contingencies and how we may need to balance both of those missions simultaneously. Well, if you look at the last decade and a half following 9/11, the nation has been very much focused on the war fight, whether in Afghanistan, Iraq, or being in position to support that throughout the world. The military has been very fortunate to have the support of the American people in that effort. I think the Department of Defense looked at how we may be able to send a thank you to our, in this case, those that are on the tip of the spear, our healthcare workers, our first responders, and those that are dealing with the pandemic in a very personal way each and every day. So the flyover was one that could be very visible, and that would be a thank you from the entire military construct here in this nation and all of our family members who have been on the receiving end of a lot of that thank you messages from our communities and from our first responders and others. So a way to say thank you for the fight that you're making right now for all of us. The legacy of an organization like the National Guard is similar to other organizations. You want to recognize and identify what your history is. You want to know what you have contributed over the years, and as a way of doing that, we have been working now with South Carolina Educational Television to develop a documentary that tells the story of the South Carolina National Guard.
There is nothing more critical, but yet nothing more honorable than serving the citizens of South Carolina.
We are all over the planet at this time.
To get to do this in this unit with these kind of people, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world right now.
There's something special about a deployment that brings everybody together as a family.
This is just an extension of what that history and what that legacy of the South Carolina National Guard will be. And it will be, at some point in time, will be a point in reference that we'll go back and say that the young men and young women of the South Carolina National Guard, both in the Air Guard, the Army Guard, and our members of our State Guard, answered the call of what this state asked them to do. We were glad to be a member of the South Carolina Guard at a very historical point in time in this state and this nation's history.
And now, with a look at the music community's response to the pandemic, here's ETV's Desiree Cheeks.
Thank you, Beryl. The COVID-19 pandemic has not only caused a crisis in our health community, but has also had a devastating impact on our economy. One group that has been negatively affected is our music community. These talented independent artists have been cut off from their fans and their livelihood. Yet, they still continue to find creative ways to practice their craft and spread the joy of their music to their many fans.
The shock of it, we didn't really get, I guess, in every day, it's still for me setting in how serious this is and what goes on with it and how it's affecting everybody. Because even the mentality without the pandemic involved, just that mentality makes us have to rethink how we do things. I think one of the biggest things that I've started to do is take a look at is an opportunity to do things in a different way. I've taken time to learn more stuff. I've actually been doing more. I've been doing string transcriptions at home. I've been working with more production and engineering stuff that I've been doing at home, taking songs and working on them, working on music, writing new stuff. We're looking at what's going to happen after this. We got to look into the future, of course. We have a way of reaching out. We've done some videos that we get to kind of communicate and put things out for our fans, and we get feedback, which is really nice. So it's an interesting thing that you have to just change what you do as an artist and make it work for you the best way that you can.
This is the infamous room.
This is the infamous room, like she said, the infamous room. somebody was driving by and decided to stop by and then convinced me to stop and play something. Musicians have become very resourceful, especially with the use of virtual tip jars, on social media, whether it's going on live stream or Facebook Live or live on Instagram or any of those mediums, coming up with just clever ideas and things to still perform and try to get a little income. All blues. Still riding the high off of the Grammy win, and now with the world dealing with this pandemic, not being able to tour behind that win, it's definitely an immediate blow. Of course, you want to capitalize on that popularity right after the win, but it was a pretty big blow to just get ready to go out on tour. I know that you'll be there for me. I know you'll be my eyes to see.
Before this pandemic hit, I had a full schedule pretty much every Friday, Saturday, up in probably most of the rest of the year, but everything got canceled from May the 14th up until June. I saved money for a rainy day, but I wasn't expecting a stormy day. I had a CD release concert scheduled, so I had a CD that wasn't available yet. I didn't even put it on iTunes. And since the concert got canceled, I was able to sell CDs via social media, and I would mail it and autograph it for the folks. And did a lot of like Facebook Live concerts. And it actually helped a lot of folks as well, and just put little cash apps up, just donations if they wanted to do so. The response from my online audience since I've been doing this has been amazing. People have been sharing my lives. A lot of folks have new fans now, and sometimes you don't appreciate things until they're gone. Now the appreciation is coming back, and this time has given me a lot of time to practice and just recraft everything. So I'm very excited for the next show. It's going to be blazing, I'm telling you.
Here we go. And 5, 4, 3, 2.
My first thought was, how can I help? Everyone's out of work. I'm going, how do we create work for folks? How do we keep the musicians going? How do we support these guys? First thing I did, I put out a text message and a call to about 40 different musicians all around the state, and even North Carolina and Georgia. I said, hey, how's it going? What's happening? What's going on with your gig calendar? And how are you doing financially? Do you have a savings? And these kind of things. And the majority of the cast wrote back going, hey man, I live gig by gig. I have no idea how I'm gonna pay child support. I don't know how I'm gonna make rent next month. I'm just trying to get some food covered. And so I'm going, okay, all right, we've got to find a way to create some income. So very quickly I said, all right, we're gonna do these live stream concerts. We're gonna take donations, and that'll be the first step. We'll see what happens with that. Thankfully, the community rallied around that, and the support has been amazing. The donations have been over the top. It's been incredible. And the musicians have, their first thing they say is like, thank you for getting us together to play. They could express their art form, that they can be the musicians that they are. And then secondly, it's like, thank you for these hundreds of dollars. You're going to help me get through the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much. And to this point, thanks to the donations and charity of our community, our greater community, we've been able to pay out over $5,000 to all these different musicians and really help folks. What I like to think is happening is we're actually growing the audience. We're reaching more and more people, so that when we do come out of this, we're gonna have a bigger community, a bigger audience for the arts. So I hope it's gonna be a blessing in disguise.
Oyster farmers have been dealing with the challenges of climate change for years. From increasingly frequent storms to ocean acidification to rising sea levels. Now there's a new challenge, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. Here we take a look back at the Barrier Island Oyster Company of the Lowcountry, a small business that has managed to stay afloat in these tough economic times.
Similar to how wines have terroir, an oyster has merroir. It's a sense of place. It's a taste of the area that it's grown. It's dependent on salinity, water quality, mineral content in the water, and every oyster is going to taste a little bit different. Our oyster, being grown here in South Carolina, tastes like our South Carolina waterways. It gives folks that come into restaurants a taste of our culture and the Lowcountry. I had a friend who said eating one of our sea clouds is like getting hit in the face by a big wave of the ocean. I was working for the SCDNR in 2013 and started thinking about oyster farming, saw that there was no local single oysters being produced for raw bars for the restaurants downtown. And over a few years of doing research, decided to make a stab at it and to start a farm. In 2015, me and my business partner, Josh, began Barrier Island Oyster Company, started to seek permits to lease waterway and start our farm.
About 3 years ago, I was back visiting Charleston with my wife and hanging out with Jared, and one night, staying up late, talking, and he mentioned that he had, been kicking around this idea for a long time about an oyster farm. And I was really just kind of getting into oysters at the time in terms of, I like to eat them raw, but getting a sense of how, they can be like wines and you can try them from different regions, and all those factors, were really just, I was just learning about it and I was really into it. So Kendra, my wife, and I had been going out to eat and doing that a lot, and it immediately caught my interest. It fit together really well, and Jared sold me on the concept and the need and the market here. We spent about 2 years from that point working on permits and putting everything together to launch the company. At that point, it's been essentially just all systems go for 3 years now.
Yeah, our farm's located in the North Edisto watershed. We're about 2 miles from open ocean on the north end of Edisto Island in Ocella Creek. We get seed from a hatchery down in Beaufort. All of our seed is from broodstock that's South Carolina oysters. We put it into mesh bags that go into our cages, and a small mesh is what we start with. And as those oysters are graded for size and as they grow, we reduce densities and they go into a larger mesh so that nutrients can flow through the bags and that the oysters can feed appropriately. And they grow from 5 millimeters to market size as we graduate them up. The name Sea Cloud is derived from a local plantation, one that most people are familiar with. It's Botany Bay Plantation, but formerly it was Sea Cloud Plantation. We did some research on the area and thought it was a perfect name for our oyster, give it a sense of place, and then also lend its name to the sea and the delicate nature of the oyster that we wanted to grow. Our Sea Clouds are unique to South Carolina in that they're a farmed oyster rather than a wild oyster. We're able to tumble them and to shape them into a cup and a single oyster. They're singly set at the at the hatchery that we purchased them from, and then as they grow in our cages and they're tied tumbled, they chip away the edges, and that promotes a round shape and a cup oyster that's suitable for the raw bar market.
Being able to have a South Carolina product in Charleston during the summer is actually a very big deal, because you have a lot of tourists here. This is the high season for a lot of the restaurants, and up until now, even if they could get a single, they had a South Carolina single from a wild harvester, somebody who was knocking off the clusters or whatever they were doing. You still couldn't get it in the summertime. It was only available roughly October to May. So as of last year, because of the kinds of mariculture that we're doing and some others are doing, and you're able to keep the oyster in continuous submersion, that makes it safe to harvest in the summertime. And there are protocols about getting it out and getting it cool immediately, and a lot of other things like that. But essentially, now we can certify that this oyster has been underwater for long enough period of time to make it safe to eat during the summertime, even when it's warm out. And that's a completely new thing here, and that has been both beneficial for the chefs, consumers, and has brought new people, into the market looking to raise these things too.
The best moments for me are when we go into restaurants and we let the chefs taste the oysters, and sometimes they'll be a little standoffish, and once they start shucking them and passing them around to their other chefs, the smiles on their face and the reaction they have to this South Carolina oyster in a single cup shell is great.
You definitely can't beat the view, and the office is pretty nice. I do think that, the folks that live on this dock, essentially have owned this dock for generations, they'll tell you that working on the water will beat you up. It's not something that you can do forever. Right now, we're youngish, strong enough, and we can do this. But ultimately, for me, it's the challenge of each new hurdle we're trying to climb. So the last year has been essentially to establish ourselves, to get our farm up and running, to get our oysters in the water, to grow them, to get our first harvest to market, to find the restaurant partners. All these things have been a growth from essentially nothing to something. And now it's like, okay, how do we take something and make it bigger? And that challenge is what keeps me interested in whether, in 5 years I'm still on the water every day or I'm doing other things, to expand the company. It doesn't really matter to me. I want to be part of something that is like constantly challenging me and constantly showing me progress, and I get that satisfaction of the job well done.
Yeah, what keeps us going is producing that oyster that we hope to grow, and to have people taste them and try them, and the response that we get to the oyster from restaurants and just the general consumer alike. It's fun. We're out here working on the water, working our dream. So it's great.
For more stories about our state, and of course more details on the stories you've just seen, please visit our website at palmettoscene.org. Don't forget to follow us on social media as well, whether Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, at SCETV, #Palmetto Scene. We leave you now with an online jam from one of our favorites. I'm talking about the Root Doctors. For Palmetto Scene, I'm Beryl Dakers. Good night, stay strong, and thanks for watching.